Welcome back to my channel, Bring Peace into Your Life. My last video we talked about building peace in our relationships through listening, speaking with care and making space for each other. But let's be honest, even when we're doing our best, there are times we need to talk about hard things. Whether it's money, boundaries, differences of opinions, or something that's been bothering us for a while, difficult conversations can feel scary, but they don't have to be, and they don't have to be destructive. Today I'm going to look at how to navigate these talks in a way that brings understanding and not conflict. The first thing I'd like to talk about is how to prepare for one of these conversations, but you need to look at not planning to control the situation. So prepare, but not plan for control. The first step happens before the conversation even starts, and that's preparing yourself. But here's the thing, preparation isn't about scripting what you'll say or planning how to win the argument or win when you're talking. It's about getting clear on what you need to communicate and what you hope to achieve. It's important to take time before you have a conversation with someone, especially if you think it's going to be a difficult conversation, to get yourself in the right headspace. There are 3 important questions you need to ask yourself. What's the core issue I want to address? It's easy to get tangled up in small details. Try to boil it down to one main point. For example, instead of listening every time your partner forgets to take out the bins, focus on, I'd like us to share household responsibilities more evenly. As we go along, I will give you examples. Think about, what do I need from this conversation? Is it to be understood? Is it to find a solution together? Is it to set a boundary? Be clear on your goal helps you stay focused. The more clear you can be on what you would like to get out of the conversation, the easier it is to communicate what your needs are. It's important to think, what might they be feeling or thinking? This isn't about guessing exactly what the other person will say. It's about reminding yourself they have their own perspective too. If you're talking about money, for instance, they might be feeling stressed or worried, even if you're feeling frustrated. Take 10 minutes to think through these things before you start talking. As it can help you stay calm and focused instead of getting pulled into arguments about small details. The preparation is really important because you get yourself into a headspace of being open to what the other person's saying, but also about thinking about what you want to communicate and what you want them to hear from you. We quite often hear things from different perspectives when we're in relationship with someone else, and we want to understand each other, but sometimes we can get it wrong or we can misinterpret what someone's saying. So the more clear you are on what you want to communicate, the easier it is for that person to pick up what you are communicating and then receive the message that you're wanting to give. Choosing the right time and place is very important. When you have the conversation matters almost as much as what you say. Trying to talk about something hard when someone's rushing out the door, stressed from work, or tired at the end of the day is almost guaranteed to make things worse. Here's what works. Ask for a specific time. Say something like, I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind. Would tomorrow evening after dinner work for you? This gives time to mentally prepare. Quite often when you go into a conversation and you've said we need to talk, or I really need to talk to you about something important, the other person needs time to prepare themselves too, because they don't know what's going to come up in the conversation. So giving them time and not just springing a conversation on them is really helpful. Try to pick a private place where you won't be interrupted. It's very difficult if you're trying to have a conversation with children running about or while other people are nearby or can overhear, and that could make your partner feel very awkward, and it could then be difficult to have that conversation. Also, avoid talking when either of you is hungry, tired, or really upset. It's really, really difficult to talk about something when you're in a heightened state of being upset, you're tired and drained, and you really need space and energy for this type of conversation. The goal is to create a space where both of you feel safe enough to be honest, and that starts with choosing the right time and the right moment for both of you. Starting these kind of conversations with connection is really important. It's tempting to jump straight into the hard part, but starting with connection can set a completely different tone for the conversation. I used to start difficult talks with, we need to talk, or we need to have a talk. And even before I'd had that conversation with the person, I was already feeling anxious and worried about the fact that I was going to say, we need to talk. Because we need to talk, that statement brings anxiety and worry, and it makes it really big. And sometimes that can really put the other person on the back foot. This in turn can make the other person very tense. What I try to do is to start a conversation a different way now that I know that and I've experienced that. If you can start the conversation with someone and make it seem like that you're on the same team and you're on the same wavelength, that can be really helpful. Some examples of this are, I really care about us and that's why I want to talk about something that's been weighing on my mind. Or I know we both want what's best for our family and I'd like to share how I'm feeling about something. And that can be really helpful because it can make the conversation a lot more open and the person a lot more open to talking. You can also start by acknowledging something you appreciate about them. Like, I know you work really hard to support us and I'm grateful for that. I just want to talk about how we're managing our time together. This doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem. It means you're choosing to address it from a place of care, not criticism. When someone feels like you're still on their side, they're much more likely to listen. I've always found criticism very difficult in a relationship, and my partner is quite happy with criticism in the sense that he feels it's a good thing. He feels like it's a way to communicate and a way to sort things out. But I have stuff from my past that when I feel like I'm being criticised, it really makes me very defensive and it makes me feel like I'm being told that I'm not worthy or I'm not valuable. And that's my stuff and I've been working on that and it's something that I do work on. So it's very important to recognise your triggers when you're in a conversation with a person and navigate a difficult conversation. And if you can know your triggers, then you can actually take care of them, either work on them and get over them completely, or be very aware that you may be triggered in one of these conversations, and then it's easier to then manage the conversation. I talked about I statements in the last video, but it's even more important within difficult conversations. So I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit and give you an example so that you can understand what that would be like. So if you're upset because your friend keeps cancelling plans, and a you statement might be, you always cancel on me, it feels like our friendship doesn't matter to you. This is likely to make your friend feel attacked and they might respond by defending themselves or pointing out times where you've cancelled plans as well. And this is really not a good way to have a conversation. An I statement would be like, I feel sad when our plans are cancelled because I really value the time we spend together. This tells your friend how their actions affect you without blaming them and opens the door to finding out why they've been cancelling. Maybe they're going through a hard time, maybe they're struggling to balance things, and then it means you can understand each other better. It's also really important to stay focused on one issue at a time. It's easy to bring up old problems or other things that are bothering you. Things like saying, while we're at it, this has been annoying me as well. But it's never a good thing. It's always better to focus. If you focus on too many parts rather than one thing, it overwhelms the conversation and makes it hard to solve anything. So sticking to the core issue you're prepared to talk about and save other topics for separate conversations. Difficult conversations are a two-way street. Once you've shared your perspective, it's really time to listen to the other person's perspective as well. And I mean really listen, not just wait for your turn to talk. Here is how to try and do that. Put your own thoughts on hold for a moment. It can be hard not to plan your response while you're talking, but try to just focus on what the other person is saying so that you can take it in and you can also have space to clarify. Ask open-ended questions to understand better. Things like, can you tell me more about what you're meaning? Or what would help you feel better about this situation? Reflect back what you hear. So it sounds like you feel pressured when we make plans far in advance. Is that right? This lets them know you're listening and helps clear up any misunderstanding. It can feel uncomfortable feeding back like that in a conversation, and at times I've found that as well, but it's actually really helpful to clarify what the other person's thinking and feeling and what they understand from what you've said. And clarification is really important, especially when you're navigating a difficult conversation. The goal of a difficult conversation isn't to get everything you want, it's to find a way forward that works for both of you. Sometimes that means finding common ground, other times it means compromising. Start by looking at what you agree on. Even if you disagree on the details, you might both want the same thing. For example, if we're talking about money with your partner, you might both want to feel more secure. You just have different ideas about how to get there. And it's important to listen to your partner's ideas, especially if they're very different, to understand how you can work together and compromise to get closer on the decision that you're having to make. If you need to compromise, think about what you can let go of and what's a non-negotiable for you. So things that aren't really that important to you, you can let go, especially if it's important to your partner. But if there's something that you really feel adamant on, you need to explain and express that. Say something like, I understand you need to work late sometimes. I can be more flexible about weekdays, but I need us to keep our weekend plans so we can spend time together. So that's just an example of how that conversation can go. It's also okay if you don't solve everything in one talk. Sometimes you need to take a break and come back to it later, once you've both had time to think and digest what's been said. The important thing is that you're open and the conversation has shown you're willing to work together. Navigating difficult conversations takes practice. You might not get it right every time. I definitely don't, and I know I don't, and I need to work on that. There will be times when you get upset or when the conversation doesn't go as planned, but every time you try to approach a hard talk with care, honesty, and respect, you're building a stronger, more peaceful relationship. Remember, prepare without controlling, choose the right time, start with connection, and use I statements. Listen deeply and look for common ground. If you found this information helpful, I'm really glad about that. If you have any comments that you'd like to share, please do so. And one of the next videos I'm going to be looking at is talking about how to set healthy boundaries in relationships, something that goes hand in hand with having difficult conversations. Thank you for watching, and remember, even the hardest conversations can bring you closer if you approach them with an open heart. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.